$500, baby, and you can pick my teammate.
Give him the chump.
You mean play basketball?
Yo, what up, Elo? What's up, baby? Just kicking this in 92 for the basketball. Check it out. Swing.
Hola, my friends. Griffin's already laughing, y'all. We just figured we would change it up.
That was a hard opening. You opened with hola? Jesus.
But we figured that we'd just change it up and let me introduce the show for once. But,
huge mistake. I'm sorry, everyone. I regret it.
Guys, it was a huge mistake. But I hope y'all are doing good. It's been about a week, actually. It's been 8 days since the draft, and this is just going to be a draft recap, and we're going to kind of touch on some team-intensive things, but really the talk about the draft was what the Celtics did, or maybe we should say didn't do, and with their number 3 pick from the Nets. And we can talk a little bit about the Jazz, just giving them some respect. But Griffin, let's get your thoughts on what the Celtics, that massive screw-up, in my opinion, that they had of not trading that pick. Talk to me about it.
I'm sorry, I'm still recuperating. It wasn't even bad. I was not expecting you to open with hola. But the Celts, I don't know, man. I heard prior to the draft that Ainge was really high on Jaylen Brown. So I guess the fact that he did take him doesn't surprise me. But obviously Brown was projected to be the number 8 pick, and the fact that he went number 3 is kind of shocking. And Brown, I do think he probably has the most upside. It's probably him and Bender out of those, not top 8, but those 6 guys after Simmons and Ingram. He and Bender probably have the most upside, but Brown has a lot of really apparent flaws in his game. So I get why people are so upset about the pick. And then, was it 16? Was it the 16th pick that they had next?
I'm pretty sure it was 16 that picked, if I'm remembering right, because they had like 16, 22, 26, or something like that.
Yeah, they had 4. I think you're right. They had 4 picks. But yeah, I believe it was 16. They took the French guy. I have no idea how to say his name. Do you? What is the dude's name?
It's. I'm looking it up.
Gabriel something.
Speaking of African American people, and this is totally different. Change of subject. Well, it's not really a change of subject, but. Thon Maker. How did he go 10?
Oh, yeah.
You don't even know how old he is or anything. How did that happen?
The Bucks, I don't know who's running that organization, and it's funny because the Jazz's assistant GM, Justin Zanuck, actually just went over there to become the new GM, so hopefully he'll be able to figure it out. But they have made some very interesting, I guess to say, personnel moves. And Thon Maker, they're confident that the guy is actually what is he claiming to be, 19 or 20?
He claims to be 19. People believe he's like 23, 24.
Right.
And that 4 years doesn't sound like a big difference, but
in
the NBA, when you're 19, those guys, the scouts see that as you have a lot of untapped potential. But as soon as you're 23, 24, that you're a 4-year senior and you are what you are.
Absolutely. I was on the NBA subreddit, and a couple different people were actually compiling evidence stating that Maker is actually 23 years old. They were posting yearbook photos and like prom photos and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was pretty compelling stuff. It seemed like they had reason to believe that the guy was actually much older than he said. So that was a surprising pick. And I honestly, even if he is 19 or 20, I don't think he should have been the 10th pick regardless, especially considering the fact that they have John Henson, who is what they probably hope Thon Maker can turn into.
Exactly.
So what is the point of the pick? Like I said, I don't know if maybe Jason Kidd has a hand in their decision making.
Absolutely.
And if so, that's probably why they're making so many stupid decisions, because I think that guy he was obviously a basketball savant, but I do not think he's an intelligent or a wise decision maker.
Mm-hmm.
But back to the Celtics thing. The fact that Jaylen Brown got taken so high, that got taken 3rd, like I said, is shocking. But I think it could actually turn out all right for them. I think he could be a solid pro because he has all the intangibles. But the 16th, let's see his name, Gershon.
It's Gershon Yabusele. I remember
Gershon Yabusele. Yeah, the fact that they took that guy at 16 is nuts. It's crazy.
And then they go number 23 and they pick that center Ante Zizic out of Croatia.
I think Zizic will be solid. Actually, I've seen and read some stuff on him, and he looks like he's another guy that doesn't have a ton of upside, but he seems like he's got an NBA body for sure, and he has he's a good rebounder. Like his skills will translate. You know, he's very, very solid skills. So I think he could be decent for sure.
And the Celtics, what I can say, and I'm gonna. Excuse me, y'all. I'm going to hate on the Celtics here in a couple minutes, but what I can say is that Danny, it's been known, ever since Kendrick Perkins, and this was 2010, and I remember sobbing this game, ever since he tore his ACL in Game 6, and he was never the same player.
Sobbing out of joy?
No. I was sad because that was it, and in Game 7, there was no way that they were going to beat the Lakers. Man, I'm not
speaks
even gonna
volumes to their team that Kendrick Perkins was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Dude, he was good though. Interior defense wise, he was not bad.
Yeah,
and
I guess.
But since that, they have not had a big man who could do anything in terms of. Could
you remind me? Was it Perkins or Reggie Evans that essentially got a contract by sticking fingers up guys' butts to defend them? Swear to God, I think it was Evans.
That's Reggie. Yeah, that's Reggie.
He would literally do that in the post, and that's how he was an effective defender. Truly terrifying stuff. He would be sexually assaulting people on the basketball court, and he got paid millions of dollars to do it.
And he wasn't bad. I mean,
he was bad. He was really bad.
he was a good rebounder. Speaking of that, Reggie Evans. I'm gonna look him up.
He was on the Kings as early as.
We're talking about the draft, and somehow we get on this stupid clown Reggie Evans. I'm gonna look at what this guy is. It always does happen. I did not know that he played for the Supersonics.
Wow, he's old.
That man was. He was in the league for what is that? 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. He was in the league for 15 years.
No way.
I swear to you.
Jesus Christ.
I swear to you.
How old is he? What year did he come into the league? When he was like 12?
He's 36. He graduated in 80. He was 22 when he came into the league. That is crazy. But
oh my goodness.
The thing about the Celtics draft that I can say is good is that they got a power forward in Gershon, and then they got a center in, I think his name's Ante.
Yeah, Ante Zizic.
Yeah. They needed those players. So, okay, maybe a bit of a reach on who they are, but they needed those positions, and can't really.
Go ahead. I was just going to say it comes down to the conflicting philosophies of do you either take the best available guy or do you take what your team needs. So I think most teams in the league do best available. But I'm not sure I buy that. No, the Celtics don't at all. That's exactly what I'm saying. The Celtics went the opposite route, and they filled their needs. So I think really it has to be a culmination of the two philosophies. And who knows how – I think the draft grades are really stupid that people do immediately after the draft. So I can't really give the Celtics a grade. But who knows how it'll turn out, because like you said, they did fill those holes. And they were very large holes to fill. Like they need those guys.
They did, large figuratively and literally. But I'm just going to talk about the Brown pick, and I feel bad for him. And a couple days back, people were just giving him a bunch of crap because you projected number 3. The Celtics should have traded that pick. We weren't even worthy of the number 3 pick. And so the guy's already coming in behind the 8 ball, so my heart goes out to him. But I think it all comes back to Danny Ainge. And I understand, looking back now, we're now 8 days out of it, I understand why he didn't trade for Jimmy Butler, because the Bulls wanted what would have amounted to 7 players for 1.
Yeah, and the Bulls have been overvaluing Butler this entire time.
Absolutely. And
is he really good? Yes. Is he one of the top 2-way players in the league? Absolutely. Is he worth an entire freaking team? No way.
If I remember right, I think it was Jay, Jared, Avery, Marcus, and 3 picks. If I remember, 2 or 3 picks.
So they wanted 2 starters and 2 rotation guys and 3 picks for one dude.
Exactly. So I'm glad that I look back and I'm like, you know what? I'm glad you didn't do it. But I think it comes back to what we talked about the original first episode. This is now episode 10, but the
original
episode,
first episode.
yeah, that was redundant. My bad.
The legendary first episode.
Yeah, the legendary. That's what we could say. The legendary first episode.
Yeah.
I said that
I actually listened to that the other day. It was so bad for so many reasons.
I'm really sorry that you spent 30 minutes listening.
I didn't listen to the whole thing. I could only make it through like 3 minutes.
Guys, if y'all listen to episode 1, y'all know that we have infinitely improved. But it goes back to what we were saying then, is this draft was just bad. It just was not a good draft. And
yeah, it was thin for sure.
It was thin, and I'm glad that they didn't trade it for who they wanted, which is Jimmy Butler, but I'm also upset that they didn't trade for Jimmy Butler, if that makes any sense.
Right. Okay, so I know we wanted to keep this one really brief. Guys, this is just like a 15-minute draft recap special. And we'll also be recording a legit free agency episode later tonight. But I wanted to touch on the Jazz really quickly.
Yeah.
So, and feel free to disagree with me on this, but I think the Jazz were the winners, quote-unquote winners of the draft, and they didn't even have a pick in the first round. And I say that because they had the 12th pick. They did not want the 12th pick, and they traded for a not all-star, but close
borderline.
To it. Yeah, borderline all-star. If you consider Jeff Teague an all-star point guard, and he did make the all-star team 2 years ago, then you have to consider George Hill a borderline all-star. So they got a veteran borderline all-star point guard for a 12th pick in, like we said, a relatively weak draft that they had no desire, to actually pick. So, I mean, they won. They fleeced. They not even fleeced, because I get why the Hawks and Pacers did it, but they won big, man. They got exactly what they needed. I've been saying, and every knowledgeable Jazz fan knows that the Jazz needed 1, a point guard, 2, a veteran presence, and they got both in one package, and all they had to do was give up a pick that they didn't even want. So I'm just ecstatic, man. I'm really happy that trade went through.
I could argue that I totally agree with what you're saying. I do. I could argue that the Thunder won the draft, and they get rid of Ibaka and they go get Oladipo, Sabonis, and I think one more throw in.
So let's talk. It was oh god, who was it?
Sabonis. I'm gonna look it up. Oklahoma City.
I totally was it a pick or no?
I can't remember. Let me see. So it was Oladipo.
Sabonis.
Man, we are not on our game.
Yeah, we're
What's
not. Sorry about
here?
this, guys. Hold on. I think trade tracker.
And speaking of trades, they need to get
Ersan Ilyasova.
That's who it was.
Yeah.
So they go get a pretty decent stretch forward who can't rebound or defend as well as Ibaka, but Ibaka's kind of been on the downside the past 2 years for whatever reason. In Ilyasova, they get an upgrade over Roberson in Oladipo. They get Sabonis, who everybody's saying could be really good. All for somebody who is
for sure.
All for somebody who is going to leave next year in free agency anyway, and that they weren't going to retain because
the thing. I would say that trade was contingent on whether or not Ibaka has actually declined as much as some people think that he has, similar to the Derrick Rose Knicks trade. But exactly what you said, they basically got a rental. Like they got a 1-year rental on an Ibaka that, like I said, a lot of people think
they're not even a win now
declining.
team.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's why the move makes no sense. At the end of the day, they gave up a young guy who Oladipo obviously has not performed up to par. He was the 3rd pick in the draft a couple years ago, so he obviously hasn't performed as well as people hope that he would. But they gave up Oladipo, like you said, a decent stretch forward, and then Sabonis, who honestly could be a good fit, a good 3rd big for those guys.
Exactly.
I guess they love Andrew Nicholson, so.
If I remember right, declined to.
Yeah, they didn't even give him the qualifying offer. So
yeah,
who is running that organization? Is it
Rob
Mickey Mouse?
Finnegan?
I know they're in Orlando. Yeah. Like, what the hell are they doing?
It's really bad.
It's Rob Hennigan, honestly, right?
Yeah, Rob Hennigan. What I'm gonna say is, I think Oladipo. I really do. From day one, he was going into Orlando, he was expected to be the guy, and he was expected to do a lot of things that he just, as a player, just isn't, and that's okay. So he can go now to Oklahoma City, who, barring, let's just say Durant doesn't stay there, Oladipo is going to be the number 2, which I think he's more suited to, the number 2 or 3. Westbrook is going to dominate the ball, which is fine, because Oladipo's he can create his own shot decently, but he's definitely a slasher more than anything.
Right.
So I think that the change of scenery will really help him. Do I ever believe he'll live up to his number 3 status? Probably not, because most people who are drafted 1, 2, or 3 don't, and that's not because they're not good. It's just because that when you are drafted that high, you almost have unfair expectations. Yeah, that's what I was looking for to live up to. But
yeah,
going back to the original point about the Jazz, I really do think that they, just like I said, we could argue up and down that they won the draft because they were going to get a player that they didn't even want had they not traded that pick, and they got a player that they did want because they traded that pick.
And I think that it could turn out to be even better for the Jazz if they're able to convince George Hill to re-sign, and I think they'll be able to. He seems like the type of guy that would fit in well and gel with that organization. But is there anything else? We're at about 15 and a half minutes. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we wrap this thing up?
No, there isn't. I think the draft was kind of exciting for some people, but for most people it was exciting to Denise.
There you go. Denise is excited.
But no, it was exciting to some, but for most people, everybody knew what it was. I think that everybody since my boy King James won the finals, everybody's been immediately looking forward to what happened this morning at midnight, and that is free agency. And so, guys, we're gonna wrap this up, and we're gonna immediately record another one. Hope y'all enjoyed this short one. I know y'all are probably going to enjoy the free agency one a little bit more because there's just more meat to it. It's more interesting stuff.
Yeah, I'll be introducing that one as well, so you guys will probably...
y'all are going to like it immediately, but there's going to be more debate in that free agency one. But I hope y'all enjoyed this short one. Just like I said, be looking for this one here the next day or two, and then same one as that, or the next one in the next day or two as well. And I will let Griffin wrap it up. But adios, y'all.
No, man, you can wrap it up. I loved how you opened it, so you go ahead. Thanks for listening, guys. Let Hunter close it.
Oh, gosh, man. This got me nervous so bad. But
never mind. All right, we're done. I'm closing it. You can't do it. All right, bye.